Hi everyone, in this video we're gonna learn about Netlify and everything that you need to know to deploy your React application from localhost into Netlify server. Everything concerning CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployments. We're gonna use GitHub, we're gonna use the Netlify-CLI, we're gonna build and create like a new configuration for Netlify. We're gonna understand those configs, and of course we're gonna use some environment variables, and we're gonna use the superpowers that the Netlify-CLI is gonna basically provide us to interact with our Netlify hosting as you were our own VPS hosting. So we're gonna all cover it in this particular video. And for the basic websites or the whole application we're gonna be deploying, the React application, so curiously this one uses React, TypeScript, Webpack, and everything. For this is actually being deployed to basically to run on the servicing website. So if I take a look, so this is the Netlify in here. If I go to the deployed version, this one is in localhost. If the deployed version, that's basically the same, that still works, and everything works in here. So if you do like specialist login, you can log in, sign up, the other login, browsing services, they can look in on services, and this is all running on Netlify scripts in here on the domain name in here, and it's being linked out into an external API, and it works flawlessly. We're gonna also have this, and it's like learn how to push to GitHub and link it with Netlify using the CLI and everything, and it's all gonna work absolutely fine. So hope you guys enjoy this one, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and get started, and first let's know, for those of you who doesn't know what Netlify is. So Netlify is basically just a cloud hosting, but it's just a kind of a special cloud hosting because there are like the regular cloud hosting which provides you with something like a VPS, then you have to go ahead and manage that particular VPS by yourself. But when it comes to Netlify, it's pretty much like pre-managed for you. It just gives you like superpowers like CI/CD and pretty much like continuous integration and continuous deployment, which is pretty great, and it works really well with like Bitbucket, GitHub, and it allows you just like to push the code and it's gonna redeploy and everything. And this is all gonna happen for free. So you get a free trial to basically go ahead and try Netlify, try it with your website. If it all works with you, you can of course later on upgrade to the build or professional version of that sort of plan, so you can get the full feature sets. But the point in here, why Netlify is so popular, because it's super fast. I've been working with this like more than 3 years now, deploying my website, deploying production websites, and it's been doing absolutely great. The configuration is so good. It has a really nice and clean documentation. So if you ever get stuck on something, you can easily find it out by just looking at the documentation of their website. Just using the search bar, you can easily find what you're actually pretty much looking for. So Netlify in here is pretty great. So this is the website for, it supports basically any language, and we're going to be using it with React.js for today. And the reason I see why you need Netlify is basically going to just like unify everything for you in a single platform. So you can just like set up a GitHub actions with it, which is going to be done automatically by Netlify. And whenever you push and you change to the dev master or the master branch, all that's going to happen is basically it's going to rebuild automatically as soon as you push that. It's going to redeploy, so you won't actually wait a lot. And of course you got like full configuration, so it's going to like do the whole rebuild. You won't worry about servers or like what is the server running, the Linux distros or any this kind of stuff. You won't worry about any of these. You just need to go ahead, set up Netlify, and you're good to go. And with React applications, it works so flawlessly, and it's pretty great. You can do like create React app or even a custom Webpack React application. You can do it. It supports CSR, client-side rendering, which we're going to be like doing in this particular video, or it supports SSR, which I will hopefully just cover up in another video. It supports like Next.js or Gatsby for static site generators and this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna start with my logging in and everything. So you need to go in and sign up and to get an account. I already did that, so this is what it looks like, your dashboard. So you're gonna have like a team, then you get all the settings in here, like the sites and the builds and everything. For now, I have no sites, and they give you like a free 300 minutes to build and a bandwidth of 100 gigs. You can of course upgrade to get a better plan in here. You can professionally use it, and also we're gonna need a GitHub profile in here just to create a repository and push the code into. So for the project we're going to be like building or deploying into Netlify is actually this React project. So this is called servicing. So this is actually just the front end, because the front end right now is actually running on React. I got the backend server running on a completely separate server, not on Netlify or not like a VPS. And this API server is actually for providing the functionality and the API to basically make this servicing front-end React application to bind into that whenever we deploy this React application or whenever we deploy the front end into Netlify. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And here, pretty basically, I already run that. I run this in development just to test it out. So if I take a look on my Google Chrome here, I find localhost 3000. So this is the website we're going to be doing this. This is a full website just for services, for people to offer custom services, and other people can basically purchase or buy this kind of services per hour. For example, there's actually a carpenter in here. You get into it. It just takes you to a multi-page. So it works with that. It works with the API currently. The API is hosted, as I said before, completely separately from that. For particularly this one, it works really well. You can do sign up, login, like specialist login and everything. It works. So if I try to do this right here, I think I can do mail, and I can basically use my password in here and access. So this is the dashboard of how basically you can use that. So you see, this is a specially dashboard. Especially is basically a guy who can offer services. So this is the services that he is basically offering. So if you take a look on the dashboard, so you see your services, you get 2 services in here. You got you can update this kind of services and do this kind of stuff. So it works really well. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do is I'm going to take this particular project, this React application, and deploy it into Netlify. And we can, later on when we finish, double check if the website still works absolutely fine with the API or not. And of course, we can go through all the deployment step and see how it goes. So basically, before getting started with anything, you first need to actually create a new GitHub repository and push your code into this. So why doing this particular step? Because as I said before, Netlify is going to use GitHub. So whenever a new change is pushed to your GitHub repositories, it's going to trigger the deployment, and it's going to act as GitHub is the full or the main source of truth for your code and basically for deployments. So that's what I'm going to try to do in here on GitHub. So I'm going to just go into my GitHub repositories in here. I'm going to select creating a new repository, and we're basically good to go. So I'm going to name this like servicing Netlify. All right. So servicing front end. I can name this React Up Netlify. I'm going to make sure that this is a public. You can choose as private, of course, and you're good to go. So I'm going to create a new repository of this. It's going to be an empty repository. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to copy that whole thing in here. Basically the repository URL to do that, and we're good to go. So you can use the HTTPS or SSH. If you're having a private repository, I would rather use SSH because it's much better. But if you're having like a public repository, you can just use HTTPS in here. Okay, I'm gonna go with SSH. Otherwise, I'm gonna do like get remote. I'm gonna add like a remote thing. So I'm gonna add origin, or let's go ahead and say GitHub Netlify. So this is the origin name, and here I'm going to give it the URL. So for this, if I do remote-view, I got 2 in here. So this is the one I'm going to be using for Netlify. This one is completely dependent, so you can completely ignore that. But for GitHub Netlify, so this is the ones I am going to be using for pushing and everything. Now to get started, of course, you need to go ahead and add all your repositories and git, and you can of course commit. So I can add a simple commit, like initial release or something, and that should be committed. You can just go and run git status. Now, working tree is clean, no changes in here on the source control, VS Code or everything. Everything is pretty great. Now we're good to go. What we simply need to do is go ahead and do like push. Then you choose the origin name, which is GitHub Netlify, and you choose like the branch name. Here we have master. So if you have a different branch name, but mainly how Netlify works, it triggers your listings for webhooks on the master branch. Of course, you can change that on the Netlify settings. By default, it listings on the master branch. So I'm going to do git push in here. Now it's going to ask me about my SSH key and everything, and it's going to have like okay, so I can't do that because I have a different SSH key. So that's pretty great. So now you learn that this kind of stuff happens. I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I'm going to do remote, and I am going to do updates, or basically sets, I think GitHub Netlify, and I'm going to change the URL. So I'm going to use git remote set URL, and it's going to be GitHub Netlify, and I'm going to choose or put the new URL. Now if I do remote -v to view that, there you go, we got the new HTTPS links. Okay, now the last thing is GitHub or push to GitHub Netlify, and you're going to basically choose that GitHub Netlify. I'm going to choose master branch. Click enter, and this will do the push for us. It's going to, like, you know, take everything to the next step, and it's going to push everything into our GitHub web page, or basically our GitHub repository, so we can use it for deployment. So to get started with Netlify, there's actually two ways. There's actually the regular way. You can just go through GitHub and link your GitHub through the UI, of course, through the Netlify UI, and you can do that. So for example, if I go back here to Netlify, I can do a new site from Git, and I can choose GitHub in here, and it's going to authenticate me into my GitHub account basically, and it's going to allow me to basically choose a repository to add to Netlify in here, and it's going to like act or basically link both of these repositories. So whenever an action like this happens or something, this will work perfectly. So whenever you push a new change to dev master or the master branch on GitHub, it's going to automatically just trigger deployments on Netlify, and it's going to like update this ASAP. So you can do it this way, but the preferred way is actually, and the more robust and kind of, you know, the nerdy way that as developers we love to interact with, is actually using the Netlify-CLI. So I'm going to try to do that real quick in here, and I'm going to open up a new terminal. I'm going to go ahead and install this. I'm going to use npm install -g and make sure to install this CLI globally, because you can be using this CLI across multiple projects. You don't want to just like save it on the local project. And I can do for like Netlify-CLI. You click install, and you're basically good to go. So this should be pretty good for you. You can go ahead and install that. I already did install this, so I got here. After your installation is finished, you can just, you know, type in Netlify, and you're going to get this help message in here. You can read about the version and everything going on behind the scenes about Netlify. So this is actually the type of commands that you can run, and you can manage your whole Netlify thing. But to get started, we need to first run this init command in here to basically create a login or authenticate our CLI in here with our Netlify account, and, you know, create the binding and authenticate with GitHub, so we can have full control of our Netlify account and deployments, builds, add-ons, plugins, and all this kind of stuff through the CLI itself. So for that, we need to go ahead and first do this in Netlify init. So just type in this. You're gonna have this. It's gonna take you, redirect you to your basically your Netlify account in here on your browser, and it's gonna tell your application Netlify CLI is asking for permission to access the Netlify on your behalf. So are you ready to do that? Yeah or not? So you can basically choose that, and you can just go in and authorize this. Now you've granted this, Netlify can access all this kind of stuff. Now you need to go back, and it's gonna just ask you a couple of questions to get you started. So now the Netlify is actually authenticated with our Netlify account. You can go in and connect this directly to an existing Netlify site. Of course, we don't have any existing sites, so I'm going to choose the second one to create and configure a new site. So I'm going to choose this particular one, and now it's going to ask me what is the team. This team is basically your Netlify team in here. For me, I already have like a single team. So if you have like, you create another team, you can choose between both of these. So I'm going to choose this by default. Now it's going to give me what is my website name, and the website name is very, very important, because it's going to like give you this .netlify domain name, unless you basically buy it a separate domain and just like link it up. But if you go with a free tier, you can just go ahead and use it this way, as I'm doing right here. So for that, I'm going to just do like servicing. I'm going to choose this particular name, so it's going to be servicing.netlify.com. I'm going to choose this name. So already exists. Okay, so I'm going to do servicing up .netlify.up. Okay, maybe, yeah, that's good. Now site is created, so that's the admin URL. That's the URL of the site, so servicing-up.netlify.up. And now the actual CLI needs access to my GitHub account to configure webhooks. And what I mean by webhooks is basically like it triggers like an action, and this is just like a connection or an establishment between GitHub itself and your Netlify accounts. So when you actually link both of these repositories, what happens is whenever you push a new change, like a new commit to the repository, webhooks was going to act is like going to like do a notification and send this notification to a webhook URL of Netlify, and Netlify from there is going to take it, oh, there is a new commit pushed to this repository. I need to trigger a new deployments as per of this like latest change, and that's what Netlify is going to basically do using this webhook. So now we need to authorize GitHub with Netlify in order to just make that possible basically. So I'm going to do personal, make sure to choose the first one. So you need to go ahead through I would rather go through the browser. Just the second one is going to allow you to, grab the custom access token from your personal GitHub account and paste it here, which isn't really great. So choose this one. Another one is going to take you to another pop-up, and now it's going to ask you to, choose one to go ahead and get started with. For us, I'm going to use GitHub, and here it's going to start like looking for your GitHub. Now it's clear to say you're now logged into Netlify-CLI, your GitHub credentials, please close this window. So we're basically ready to get this window. Now it's going to ask you what is your build command basically for this. Now you can of course change any build command, but for us, if I take a look on the pack.json, let me collapse this real quick. Now, there's actually a bunch of scripts, but the script that is responsible for building, if you're using this with Query React app, you're going to probably just build it, find it as build, as I'm having it right here. So my script is build, and you can just run it right over here. I'm going to use yarn because I have yarn.lock in here. But if you have like package-log.json, which is this one, which I don't know why it does exist. I'm going to completely get rid of this because I personally love to use yarn, and I love to use yarn.lock. So that's why I'm going to use yarn to basically run the build and installation and everything. So for that, I'm going to just like do this particular command. My command is yarn run build. So that's my command. So the directory to basically deploy, what is the directory that we want to deploy? The directory is actually the build directory that you want to deploy. For us, it is called build, which has the whole bundles that are built. It has the index.html, has all the CSS stuff. It's basically the final bundle. When you run the build command right here, this particular folder is going to be created for you, and this particular folder is going to be like, bundled and created and everything. So I'm going to just go ahead and choose this one. So the build command is called build. Okay, so make sure to put that. Sometimes you're going to find it as dist. So choose basically what is like perfect for you. Choose build. Now, if you're using Netlify functions, which is Lambda functions, AWS Lambda functions, which we're not, just I'm going to leave this by default. And here there's like no netlify.toml, and this one is actually a Netlify configuration file. So there's no file in here. I would love to create this. So please go ahead and create me this. I'm going to put yes, and now it's going to deploy key added. It's going to create a Netlify thing, and you're basically good to go. Now, whenever you get push and everything, this actually is going to be working, and it's going to work absolutely fine. So you're going to have everything working absolutely fine. So that's pretty sweet. That's pretty good. We're basically good to go for this particular step. Now, after creating the Netlify, configuration and initialization, and you deploy your website and you basically initialize with the GitHub repository, if you go back to your Netlify dashboard, you're going to basically find information about the deployment. You're going to find a new site has been added to your dashboard. If you click on this and you go to take a look on it, site has not been deployed yet. So now this is a site, and it's being deployed right now. So right now the deployment is actually happening. So it's being like fetching packages. It uses some yarn stuff to do that particular thing, and it's going to be like using all of this kind of stuff. So for this to basically work, since we already put yarn, there's one thing that we need to put, which is like a yarn environment. So most of the things in here, because I already added to my env thing, but you need to specifically tell Netlify that, we're not going to be using npm for deployment or installation or anything like that. We're going to be using yarn instead. So for doing this particular thing is we need to use the Netlify-CLI. If I go to the Netlify-CLI help, you're going to find this env, which is on beta right now, that can control the environment variables. Now if I do, again, Netlify env a do list, the list command basically in here, it's gonna like no environment variable set for servicing up. So for this, we need to go ahead and set this particular environment variable. So what we can do is actually Netlify env, and we can just like, for example, say set. So I think if you take a look on the env thing, the helper thing, so there's this set, and you give it the variable name and the value. So that's gonna be to win. So Netlify env again, set, and for the name of that, there's actually a specific Netlify environment variable that you need to tell it to specifically use yarn instead of npm. So this is called Netlify use yarn, and make sure to set this to true. So a key value pair, click enter, and this should set you the new environment variable. Now if you take a look on that, if you do a Netlify environment list, and it's going to basically give you, the list of the environments and everything. So there's like Netlify use yarn, and it's being set to true. Okay, so about sweet. Now we got the environment. Now, if we go back to the deployment, go back to our website, we're gonna find that it works perfectly, because sometimes it fails when you try to use npm instead of yarn. But for now, so it's clear to see 92% chunk asset optimization. So that is working, it's building, it's running the Webpack build basically. So you can just fix that. So it always sticks on the, down in here, so you're always going to take a look on the log. And one thing I really enjoy about Netlify is basically gives you this full log that you can clearly tell what is going on, and it's so good. I love it when it just basically gives you the log and everything, so you can easily find it out, and it's very interactive. So you need to just wait a couple of seconds before the build actually takes on. And it has finished now, so Netlify build complete, so we're good to go. If you go up, you're gonna find a summary of the build. It's gonna tell you, oh, there's new 2 files uploaded, like the assets change. There's no redirect rules processed. I'm gonna come to this point a little bit later on. There's no headers rules processed, and the build time took 4 minutes. And of course, you got like a threshold or a bandwidth of build time that you can't pass per month. And of course, you can upgrade the plan to get more build minutes per month, but that should be good. It won't be any problem for you to worry about if you're using the free plan just to play around with this. Okay, now if you go into preview the deploy, it's going to take us to our website to preview if that is basically working. Now, take set services-up.netlify.up, boom, there you go. We got our website live, and it's basically working. So as curious in here, it works as good as it possibly could be. It is being deployed and everything. I can just do that specialist login. You can go here, you can go there. There's the login thing in here works. So it's basically working absolutely fine without any issues or something. So that's pretty sweet. Now, if you're using Create React App, which basically uses the push state API to trigger web pages. Now, for me, right now, actually when I go to another page, it works absolutely flawlessly without any problems. But for sometimes it doesn't work. So sometimes when you use like the React router, which most of us does, and like use it with a Create React app or something, you're gonna have a huge problem, like going or having a multi-page setup in here to work with Netlify. So the actual kind of fix for this is actually to go ahead and configure this to tell it specifically that, oh, I'm using the push state API, so always redirect anything that comes after the URL to the index.html right here, and it should work for you. So for that to happen, I need to go ahead and uncomment this. Chris in here, uncomment to use for the redirect single page applications like Create React App, which is basically our same thing in here we have in here. So that should be the thing that we need to do, okay? So I need to remove this, that, and we are basically good to go in here. So if you need just like to push that, I need to like put that down a little bit, and that should be good to go. Now, after doing this change, all you've got to need to go ahead and do is basically, let me go ahead and have this. I can go and do git add. So just like submit this and commit the new changes, and of course push it to your GitHub repository. So update Netlify redirect rules. So this is what the redirect rules of Netlify to tell it to use that, so we can use multi-page setup. Now, last thing is actually go ahead and push this to GitHub Netlify and push to the master branch. Okay, so it should be quick. We got that working. If you take a look at our application in here, we should have a new change. And if you go back to the Netlify dashboard, there you go. So there's a new production thing from master, and it's actually being built in. Now the website, what I love about Netlify particularly is actually it doesn't take you off your website while there's actually a new build on the way. It just basically keeps serving the old build. So right now, this current, the previous production build that went successfully is currently live. So that's what our users or our clients are basically viewing. And there is actually a new build that is being built behind the scenes, which no clients or anything like that knows about that. So that's pretty sweet. So that's what's happening behind the scenes in here. And as soon as this one finishes, the load balancers of Netlify, which I'm pretty sure it uses AWS, is going to take off the previous version or the old version that has been deployed earlier, and it's going to replace it with a new version in here, and it's going to work absolutely flawlessly. So that's going to actually ensure zero downtime for your users or your websites, and you're always going to have like, you know, blazingly fast deploys and builds, and it's always going to work absolutely fine. So you need to, of course, go and wait for the build a little bit to finish up in order to see what's actually going on. Now, the superpowers of the Netlify-CLI are pretty good. Now, if you take a look on the help messages, there's tons of commands, and of course, I'm not going to go through all of them, but what I like about this is actually there's this beta thing, which I absolutely enjoy, which is the build, and you can use your own local machine to run the Netlify build as you were to be running on any other Linux server or their own servers. And since right now I have Linux in here, I can definitely run this, and I can definitely upload it, and it would work absolutely great. No environment issues or errors or any of that kind of inconsistencies. It will work absolutely flawlessly. So for this, all I need to do is actually go and do like Netlify build, and you're gonna find like this message. It's gonna come up, it's gonna give you all the info. For example, the Netlify version that is actually running, the flags, the context is running this in production, and it's of course going to run our yarn build command. It's going to start doing this using Webpack and everything. So as it were to be running on a regular Netlify. So if you take like the logs in here, just a quick look on this, you're going to see a huge kind of, you know, they look pretty much the same. Whenever this runs either locally in here or on the server itself, they are both the same, which is absolutely great. So as soon as this kind of built and everything, you can take this build folder, build destination folder, and you can absolutely just push it to the Netlify. Netlify won't trigger the rebuild again because it already got basically the build destination folder, and you're good to go. So this is it. Now, actually has been built successfully. I got the new build folder in here. Now, all I'm gonna need to do is actually go in and do Netlify deploy. And if I take a look quickly on the help message of deploy, there's tons of stuff in here going on. But what I want is actually use this Netlify deploy to prod, and which is to deploy directly to production and deploy this new folder that is built for us directly to production. So to do this, Netlify deploy --prod. Click enter, and this will start the procedure to upload this destination folder. So you see it's uploading everything, and there you go. It put that, and it was so quick. Now if I take a look on the website itself in here, it's gonna find this new website. If I take a look on the builds in here, refresh real quick, I'm gonna find a new deployment that just happened, and no deploy message because that has been just, you know, we just deployed it from our local machine. If I take a look on this, I think this is the one. I don't know, I remember. Is it? Yeah, it's this one. And yeah, it still works absolutely fine. You can log in, you can sign up, you can do a specialist login, and like it still works. So if I try to do that real quick in here for logging in, so there you go, it still works. It still gets into here, so I can go to my dashboard. So that's still with the API. It works absolutely sweet. You can actually access everything. So this is a fully fledged website. This website is a fully fledged website. It works with an API, backend API, GraphQL, React Router, TypeScript, Redux, everything. And that has been all deployed into Netlify in just a couple of seconds. You've seen it by yourself without any issues. So that's the main point what I love, and a lot of other people, tons of them, love to use Netlify as I do right here. So hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys now you can deploy with ease without any problems to your Netlify, you know, host and everything. You can take your React applications from localhost to an actual web server and, you know, publish it with other people. And this works really well, especially the free tier. If you want to like showcase your website to a client, if you're doing freelance, just like with your buddies. It even has on the CLI this live kind of feature that allows you to just like to tunnel it live without needing to deploy, which is absolutely tremendous, and I absolutely appreciate that. So as I said before, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed, and catch you all hopefully in the next ones.